Hello, I'm Roman Ring, and I'll be going over Section 5.2 Education during the Revolutionary Period. And this is the period of time from 1750 to 1820. This will be on pages 147 to 149 in the textbook, in case you want to follow along. So, to begin, education during the Revolutionary Period is largely defined by the decline of European influences, except religion. That hung on a bit and continued to influence curriculum. But of course, America just fought the Revolutionary War. They gained their independence from Britain in Europe, so they have a lot more stuff they want to do. They want and need to do, like developing agriculture, shipping, and trade, which in turn influenced what they would teach. But of course, following independence, leaders like Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson were worried that the freedom that they just fought for and the well being of the nation could be threatened by disturbances within. So they felt that to preserve all these freedoms they just fought for, that a system of education is essential, which led Benjamin Franklin to design and promote the Philadelphia Academy in 1751. Now, the Philadelphia Academy is a private secondary school. Now, some of the main things is Franklin got rid of old Latin grammar and replaced it with the English language instead of Latin, and that he made the school more democratically run than schools in the past have been. And he made the subjects taught and put them in a wide range of like English grammar, composition, classical and modern foreign languages, science, writing, drawing, geography, various kinds of history, agriculture, gardening, arithmetic, and counting mechanics. So, really, Benjamin Franklin's academy is pretty much the formula and very close to basically what modern high schools are to this day. Now, most Benjamin's academy, along with other schools, were of course mostly for men. They didn't feel like, in this time period, they didn't feel like women needed this kind of education. So, Sarah Pierce came up with her Litchfield Female Academy in Litchfield, Connecticut. Now, of course, she also felt like, women don't need this like formal education. A lot of women back in this day felt like, you know, that the housework, the work women do around the house was way more important than them getting any sort of like education in like history and grammar and all that stuff. So some women, who wanted higher education, enrolled themselves in female seminaries, which were first like established in the early 19th century to give them like higher education and public service outside the home. For those women who felt like there's more to life than just learning how to like cook, clean, alleviate stress of your parents and partner. And of course, this is the earliest sign, some pretty early signs of what, some distress within a woman's life that would end up leading later on down the road to social reform movements that gave women, the same opportunities in education and stuff as men. Now, changing gears a little bit, we're going to talk about Thomas Jefferson. He believed that the best, most effective way of preserving liberty was the education of the common people. He believed that providing education to citizens was necessary in order to raise the mass of the people to the high ground of moral respectability necessary for their own safety and to orderly government. Now, Jefferson created a bill that he tried to get passed through a Virginia legislator in 1779. In his bill would call for state-controlled elementary schools that would teach, with no cost to parents, 3 years of reading, writing, and arithmetic to all white children. It would also add 20 state grammar schools for the poor people, the people who wouldn't really be able to afford it, and it would be taught to them for free for 6 years. Now, he did not get it passed, but he did implement his educational beliefs when he founded the University of Virginia, which he devoted his last years of his life to developing it, and it opened with 40 students in March 1824. Now, as I'm sure we all know, a big thing with schools are textbooks. Textbooks, textbooks, textbooks. Now, of course, textbooks in the Revolutionary period were vastly different than they are today. For starters, textbooks during the Revolutionary period were mostly filled with patriotic and moralistic maxims and ideas. Of course, America back in the day, very patriotic. I mean, still patriotic, but there wasn't really much in the form of textbook ideas that they needed. But one of the books most widely circulated in this time were Noah Webster's Elementary Spelling Book and the American Dictionary. Now, Noah Webster, was born in Connecticut. He was a lawyer, writer, politician, and a schoolmaster. And he introduced his first speller in 1783. And it was titled A Grammatical Institute of the English Language, which would be later titled American Spelling Book and the Elementary Spelling Book, because his first title was a little long, little lengthy. But Webster declared that this book and its purpose was to help teachers instill the first rudiments of language, just some ideas of religion, morals, and domestic economy. Now, this book, of course, emphasized patriotic and moralistic virtues, like most other textbooks during this time. This book taught pupils to be content with their lot in life, to work hard, and to respect the property of others. He also gave them instructions. It also gave instructions on how to behave in school, like be quiet, pay attention, stuff that teachers nowadays tell you to do. But because of the wide amount of topics addressed in his book, it would be later called one of the first curriculum guides for elementary grades. So Webster's book is viewed as one of the first books that really shows the elementary school level type of curriculum. Now, also during this time period, there was a lot of Native Americans and African Americans, and of course, most of the African Americans were slaves and couldn't read or write unless their masters, taught them. And Native Americans normally gained their ability to read and write from missionaries. So the Quakers, who viewed slavery as a moral evil, started making schools for African and Native Americans. And, early ideas of the fact that African Americans are sensible, humane, and sociable, and their capacity is as good and as capable of improvement as that as white people. The Quakers also founded Indian schools as philanthropic enterprises, and that. But sadly, federal involvement brought little improvement in programs for these schools because the government didn't really view schools for Native Americans and African Americans as one of their things that they want. So yeah, so they kind of fell under the radar. Alrighty. To summarize, uh, education is very patriotic and moralistic and had a little bit of religion, and of course, men, women, and people of different ethnicities like Native Americans and African Americans did not have the same kind of education or educational opportunities as each other. So, hope you guys learned a lot. I know I did. And see you later.